Hello everyone, Scott Leuthold here. Welcome back to another episode on our Facebook and YouTube channel. Today I'm coming to you from Strawberry, Arizona. I decided just 2 days ago that I was going to hit the road for a little over a week. I am taking my work with me on the road. I've had a lot of people ask me if I'd create a longer overland road trip with my Subaru Outback. My first thought was to go down to a town called Silver City, which is on the southern point of the Gila Wilderness area in New Mexico. I've actually never been there. I've always wanted to go. The temperatures in that area have been steadily climbing, so I thought maybe instead I would take a trip up to Durango, Colorado, maybe to Rico, Telluride, Ouray, Silverton, some of those areas. I've got a friend, Brian. Some of you have seen him before in a previous video. He's up there right now doing some back roads. I've done Engineers Pass before and the Poughkeepsie Trail before. I might go back up there and do some camping up in the high country. But what I decided to do was spend 2 days in Strawberry because my stepson Cameron, he moved back from Alaska earlier this year. And he'd been up in Alaska for about 6 years, living in the bush. He was gold mining and he was dragging log homes up the river, all sorts of interesting things. And he came back to Arizona and he's now working on a project here in Strawberry at the old Fossil Creek Creamery. So I thought I'd come and hang out here with him today, and then tomorrow he and I are going to hit the lake, do a little bit of canoeing. And then on Sunday I'll be heading up into the cooler country in Durango and Telluride. I wanted to thank Dan Cronin of Northwest Overland for being our first member. Your contribution will go a long way to helping us get some of our products off the ground. We'll be launching a new website real soon. So all in all, it should be a great week. I really look forward to sharing that with you. So sit back in your armchair and relax and enjoy the ride. So the Fossil Creek Creamery is pretty much at the end of a paved road outside of Strawberry, and after the road turns to dirt it goes into an area called Fossil Creek, and they've closed up Fossil Creek for a while now, but it's definitely a place I've spent a lot of time doing some backpacking. It's just an absolutely beautiful spot. It's crystal clear turquoise water. The temperature of the water averages in the 70s pretty much year round. Old Fossil Creek Creamery used to have goats and llamas here, and you used to be able to stop by here. They had a little tasting room and you could get goat milk cheese, goat milk ice cream, things like that. It's long closed and the people who owned it moved on, and some other people have bought this place, and now Cameron is here working on the place. Alright, so we've left Strawberry, Arizona. Cameron's in front of me with his canoe on his truck. We're heading up to either Woods Canyon Lake or Willow Springs Lake, which is above the city of Payson on the Mogollon Rim. And we're hoping to get up there and find some dispersed camping tonight and get set up. Once we're done with that, we're hoping to be able to go out and do a midnight paddle. So we're at Woods Canyon Lake. Didn't take that long to get here, and just talked to a ranger and said that we were able to do a little paddling out on the lake. Nobody's really down here. There's a couple people that are walking off that had been doing some fishing here on the shore, but Cameron and I are gonna do a little paddle out here with the dog, and it's totally peaceful out here. In less than a month, I'll be paddling like this up on the Boundary Waters for 5 straight days. You know, not everybody takes the time to go out and do something like this. They might go camping, they get to camp, set up their camp and sit around a fire, or sit around a lantern when you can't have a fire. Not many people actually put a boat in the water at 9 o'clock at night and go out canoeing. But for those of us that do, we're really gifted such incredible opportunities to see things like this. I've been sitting out here for at least an hour with Cameron, just talking about life, sitting here in the dark watching the stars and shooting stars. That was a good one. Yeah. Nice.
See, like this one. This has your limb and the cam that rolls around it. This one, the cam's all the way down the center and has a separate limb that pivots right here.
Oh, cool. Oh wow, right here you're saying, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. These two are his.
Oh, these are his?
Yeah.
This morning we're paddling on Willow Springs Lake. Got up, had a nice morning. Did a little bit of target practice with the bow. And Willow Springs Lake is probably one of the larger lakes on top of the rim. I'm not exactly sure how many acres it is, but when I'm done with this trip, I'll do a little research and put that at the bottom. But But it's a beautiful lake. Doing a little tandem paddle with CAMBONE. And we're rocking and rolling. There's power boats coming back here.
2.5 feet.
That was a very big ponderosa pine tree at one time.
I think that's at least a couple hundred years old.
Yeah. So it turns out this lake is much longer than either of us thought. I always like to do paddleboarding and canoeing camping on Blue Ridge Reservoir because you can get really far back and away from people, but I didn't ever realize that you could do that here. There's really nobody back here. Just him.
Just me.
But we've approached the end here. You can certainly get a nice spot to camp up here in trees. Just string a hammock up there, you know, run your boat right up here on the shore, or tie off on one of these trees. There's a lot of these trees right along the shoreline. Yeah. You see him?
No, I heard him.
Yeah, try to see this hawk that's up here, but I'm pretty sure it's a white-tailed hawk.
Water. Such a cool picture.
Oh, there, I got it. Actually, I think that could be a bald eagle.
Goodbye home, seems I'm growing cold. All that's still will forever turn to stone. I know there's trails of the great unknown. I can hear her whispering, singing songs so sweet they sound like do, 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 do. Giving you my woods today, the forest where I've learned to play. Trees that said so know your roots. Don't forget to stand up straight and tall. 'Cause when the rain comes falling down, there won't be no one left around for you to call to. When it comes blowing through, no one left there but you, and all you gotta do is keep on singing just like
Good morning, everyone. Sunday morning. I got up a little earlier. Cameron's still getting up. This morning I'm heading out, probably heading toward Colorado. I had been thinking about going toward New Mexico, but I think I am going to go toward Durango and Telluride and all of that. There's some really nice camp spots up near Alta lakes and just outside of Rico, Dunton area, Dunton Hot Springs area. And I've always wanted to see some of that, and so I think I'll head up that way. I do have to do some work for my clients tomorrow, so I will have to have some sort of cellular coverage so I can connect to the internet, or if I can't connect with my smartphone, I'll have to go into Telluride or something to connect to the internet to do a little bit of work. But other than that, it's pretty much a sightseeing week. I did bring my paddleboard, so I'm hoping to be able to do some mountain lake paddleboarding. Had some really nice times here with Cameron, and hope you enjoyed listening to his music and experiencing our canoe trips and things like that. We're on top of the rim here right now. I'll be heading toward Heber and then Holbrook, and then across the Navajo Nation toward the Four Corners. So my first stop was in HEBER-OVERGAARD, Arizona. Get some gas. After this, I'm heading up through the high desert over to Holbrook and then up through the Navajo Nation, as I mentioned earlier this morning. Interesting thing about HEBER-OVERGAARD is that my family used to have a cabin here. In fact, my parents had two cabins here. One of them burnt down in the Rodeo Chedeskai forest fire, which was actually pretty devastating for my family and for my parents. My parents lost a lot of family heirlooms and things like that in the cabin fire, and after that they ended up moving into a new place in the forest, and they lived there for several years. Really nice little cabin they had, and they would go back and forth between Sturgeon Bay, Wisconsin and HEBER-OVERGAARD every year. They did that for about 15 years, back and forth, a couple thousand miles each way. But that was a really nice place they had here. They actually sold that off finally, and now pretty much stay up in Sturgeon Bay full time. But today I'm heading up toward the Four Corners, going to make my way all the way up to Cortez, Colorado. But then after that, I'll probably pass through Cortez and try to find a spot. Maybe meet up with my friend Brian, who's up in Telluride right now, and maybe camp somewhere near the Alta lakes or something. But I just got off the phone with him, and he's having a good time up there, and he's got a camp spot up there, so I'll maybe see if I can make my way up there and spend some time with him. Here we are pulling into Holbrook. I thought I'd take a little stop off here in Holbrook and show you guys. Some of you have probably seen this before, but this is the old Route 66 route. I'll be getting on I-40 at some point here, but I've been over here a couple times before, and many of you have probably seen pictures of the old Wigwam hotel, motel. So I thought I'd pull in there and give you a couple shots of that.
Dark could talk, I still believe that we hear no sounds but our own, an echoing of old. Exhaust fills our lungs, and our thumbs be frozen to the bone. In the end we find a way to tolerate the lesser half, 'cause in Fairbanks you have my soul. And even when I'm old now, you see me standing out in the cold. My bones be breaking, and I feel the air shaking, start to feel alone. The comfort of me, 'cause I have been turned to stone. Ice and stone, cold breathing, now down for letting go. if I could only get away from that snow. But still I'm feeling these vibes from since all time. I said, whoa, 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 whoa. Underneath my bed, in between the questions and reasons why, I don't know. We've been questioning answers and answering questions all alone. But in the end we still find a way to tolerate the lesser half, 'cause of Fairbanks you had my soul. And even when I'm older, you see me standing out in the cold. My bones be breaking, feel the air shaking, start to feel.
Here we are, finally in the green. Stopped in Cortez and got some groceries. Just past Dolores, got a little ice. And now cruising up along the Dolores River, heading toward Rico. Gonna meet up with Brian, he's got a camp spot. Sent me a pin marker, so I'm pretty sure I'll be able to find him. Should be a pretty nice evening, nice and cool. I was thinking, you know, a lot of people have asked me why I don't join a Subaru club like Mountain Roo or one of the Arizona Subaru clubs, whatever. And you know, the real answer to that is the fact that I'm not really, I mean, I love my Subaru. And it's a really great vehicle and I love to drive it. I've done a lot of modifications to it, but I'm not a Subaru fanatic. No differently am I not a Jeep fanatic. I had 3 Jeep Rubicons and for years and years and never joined any kind of a off-road club, Jeep club, whatever. I guess I'm a bit more of a solo traveler. I'll meet up with people from time to time and do little stints of trails with people like I'm gonna do with Brian probably in the next couple of days. But, you know, for all intent and purposes, the vehicle that I have is designed to get me to where I want to go and to see the things I want to see. But it's not so much about being a fanatic of the vehicle. Again, I love Subarus. I'm an advocate for Subarus. I'm an advocate for Subaru vehicles as an overland option. And but that's not to say that I'm also not a Jeep fanatic or a Land Rover Discovery or Defender fanatic. I love all those vehicles. I'm not hell-bent on becoming a member of different organizations or something like that. Although, I do like being a member of 4 Expedition and Northwest Overland. That's thanks to Dan Cronin for being my buddy. Anyhow, here we are in Colorado having an amazing time, and I'm by myself with my dog. Okay, so I finally arrived. Got a nice open meadow here with an incredible view of the mountains. Still some snow up on top of the mountain range here, and it's just an expansive, beautiful terrain. I'm caught up with Brian. He's setting up his camp just over this way here, and I think this campground's called Goose Trail or something like that. I'll have to take a look and verify that. I didn't even look. He just sent me the GPS coordinates, and I just pulled right in and pulled up right to him. But as you can tell, he's going ahead and setting up his tent. You know, Brian's a GS motorcycle rider, and predominantly that's what he's been doing off-road. But over the last couple months, he picked up this Xterra up in Flagstaff, and he put a 3-inch lift on it. He had to do a few upkeep renovations on it, but for the most part, he just threw a 3-inch lift on it and some all-terrains, and he's been exploring the Rocky Mountains here over the last couple of days, and we're gonna ride up into the high country together a couple days this week and check things out. So I decided not to bring the rooftop tent with me this time. I threw the Yakima box up there and I put my paddleboard and some other backpacking type equipment in there. Been sleeping in the back of the Subaru, which works just fine for me. Dog sleeps next to me, as you saw last night. But overall, the vehicle's doing a good job up here, and we'll see what it's like going off-road. No, come here.
beautiful view, though.
Cortez. Yeah, probably a little. That's perfect.
It's the one thing that'll warm you up on a cold evening.
Thank you, sir.
Cheers, Brian.
Thank you, sir.
You and Gandalf.
Yeah, Gandalf here. You ready for some noodle? Not for me.
Hey, cheers.
Yeah, absolutely. Cheers.
Ding. Cheers. Yeah, all right, so we're almost to Dunton Hot Spring, and we were just talking to a camp host at, we stopped in at BURRO Bridge Campground and talked to the camp host there, a nice lady named Pickett, who told us about a place called Geyser Spring that we should check out. It's about a 1.5 mile hike in, but it goes to a geyser hot spring. It's just south of Dunton Hot Spring. We might stop at Dunton Hot Spring and do a soak there. They've got a deal where you can soak in their tubs. It includes a really nice lunch, all the alcohol you can drink, from what I understand, and just, you know, the experience of being there on the property, which is a really cool old mining town. And you know, if we stick around, we do it, we have a few drinks, well, that might be the end of our day. We might just find a spot to camp right nearby, so we can enjoy ourselves for the day. But we're coming up on Dunton Hot Spring here now.
In this bar at the top, Butch Cassidy kind of signed his name in here after robbing a bank in Telluride. He came here, but I actually think the real one's right here with him and his girl, Butch and Kay. Looks a little more rugged and more Butch-like to me, but he definitely was here. And this bar top's been around since the late 1800s when it was a mining town. And this bar is still here, the saloon's still here.
Very nice. Beautiful.
And then we do a family style intimate dining here. That's because we kind of like to imagine we're minors and we're all kind of coming together to eat like how they used to do it. See, you can see the table, big table set, all eating together, all friends. So a lot of cabins have history in them. That one, Dunton store, is not actually a store, it's a cabin now, but it used to be the old mercantile general store of the town. You can see the bottles on the outside. So a lot of these cabins have had dual purposes in the past, but are kind of just cabins now.
Very nice.
Kitchen area, we're all preparing for lunch. This is actually the original schematic of what the town kind of used to look like with all the cabins. So there's a saloon right in the middle. Right now we only have 13 cabins, but you can see that it used to be a lot more. And then these cabins have kind of been moved around a little bit. Chuck's cabin's like right here now. This cabin's not there anymore. So they kind of took the picture of them and moved them and used the same wood and kind of built it how it used to be.
How many buildings are, I mean, how many of these are, so some of these are actually non-existent?
Yeah, there's only 13 now. I'll show you a couple more. Honeymoon, it's called Dolores now. It's by the West Dolores River. Chuck's cabin. Bjorkman's is here, Newhouse is here, Echo's here, Major Ross is here, Bathhouse of course, Saloon.
So a lot of these are missing.
Yeah, a lot of these are missing. But we kind of wanted to make it look like the same how it used to be. So.
Yeah, cool.
Over here is bathrooms.
Oh, this is cool. So when you have weddings, you can have receptions in here.
Exactly. This is kind of the gift shop / gift services department.
Cool. So everything happens here, huh?
Yeah, it does.
Gold Rush?
Yeah. It's awesome.
Tennessee whiskey? Yeah, make me one of those as well, please. These are very, very old carvings. Dunton Hot Springs is a real peaceful place. We got a tour of it from a real nice guy named Noah, and we paid for a day pass, came out, and they make some really nice drinks, and they've got 3 pools. They've got the main spring where the heated water originates from, and then come down inside the bathhouse here, and they've got an internal pool, and then it feeds out to an outside pool. But they're progressively cooler, so the original, of course, is the hottest. What was the temperature of the original?
110.
110 degrees in the original main spring, and then this one here was around 105, and then the one outside's around 95 degrees. But they cater to different diets. I requested gluten-free, and they took good care of me. Really great meal. And then for the day pass, just you get to come out here and do a soak and have lunch and drinks and just have a really nice, relaxing day. But if you get an opportunity to come out here, even just for the day, just pass by and stop in and spend the day out here and just relax. It's around $125 a person, but it's well worth it. Well worth the time. Meet some really great people, and just a really nice experience. So definitely consider coming out here. Very cool. Very nice. Medium army tent.
This one was actually the prototype for our river camp.
It's called Christy's tent. Christy's tent. Look at the nice bathroom in here. What do you think of that, Shay?
Yeah, they're similar. They don't have the wood or anything in front. It's like all canvas. The woods out there.
Tin roof.
Similar to
Shay? Come on, honey. Come on. So this is the library. All original as well?
Yeah, this building's original. And also, we keep a little bottle of Dickel whiskey behind the stairwell over there.
Yeah.
And why is that? Is the miners actually found a case of it in the floorboards of the saloon. So we keep a little bit, taste some history, read some books. They're still making the whiskeys though.
Nice.
Yeah.
On site?
Not they actually I think it's the Tennessee whiskey, but they found it here. Mix and read if you like.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. Let's sit here and drink whiskey and read books.
We have a bunch of cabins.
I love how the cameras are hidden.
Yeah, actually we just have one camera. We have a lot of elopements here, and sometimes the families want to see the bride and groom, so we kind of flip it around for them. And then also that webcam is just a live feed on the online, so you can just go to Dunton's webcam.
Yeah.
So you can just see it's pointing this way, so you can see.
Wintertime as well?
Wintertime, yeah, it's running all year round.
Neat.
Because a lot of people are like, so how's the weather like up there? We just usually send them a link to the webcam so they can see.
You know, you just can't help but appreciate the peace and solitude and the laid-back feel of this place. We've been here all afternoon and everybody's just totally chill. No problems with the dog roaming around the whole property. All the people that work here are real easygoing, very friendly, very kind. Just definitely a place worth spending a little bit of time, no matter what you're doing in Colorado. Find your way out here for a couple of days or even just for the day. I would say that that guy back there is about as relaxed as I've ever seen him. You see people walking around in robes heading down to the different springs. Just had a really fantastic meal here, as I mentioned earlier. The clouds are just passing by, completely surrounded by high ridge lines covered in aspen groves and pine tree forests. Tall grasses blowing in the wind. It's just a really special place. So one of the benefits of being able to work on the road is I can be out in the middle of nowhere in the forest, and even without an internet connection or any cell service, I can still get some work done And then once I reconnect to the internet somewhere, I can always upload my files or send off the emails. So they're all just saved as drafts. And once I get back on the grid, I just hit send and everything goes out. But I'm just up the road from Dunton Hot Springs. There's a really nice campground here called BURRO Bridge. And it's 20 bucks a night. This camp spot is pretty nice. Well, once we got back to the main highway from Dunton, we decided instead of going into Telluride to head down to Durango. Had to do a little bit of shopping, get a few things. I'm going to do a little bit of work. I need to do a little bit of laundry, actually. After Durango, I think we're going to head up towards Silverton and then do some of the mountain passes over to Ouray. So we'll be here probably for the night and then head up to Silverton tomorrow, or maybe tonight we'll head up to Silverton. We'll see. We've arrived at camp. Today we spent a lot of time in Durango. We had to run a few errands and do a little bit of work. But we decided to wrap up the day by heading up towards Silverton. And we're just outside of Silverton on a National Forest road. And we're sitting at about 10,450 feet in elevation. Tomorrow morning we'll get up and head down into Silverton for breakfast. And then after that we'll be more than likely heading up into California Gulch and maybe tour up to Engineers Pass. You know, there's been an awful lot of smoke in the air. As a lot of you probably already know, there's a big fire burning up by Durango Mountain, Purgatory. And we passed through that area. A lot of trees that have been burned along the highway. But we couldn't see any fire per se, but there is an awful lot of smoke. And there's a haze right where we are here. And when you look out across the mountains over here to Engineers Mountain, you can certainly see a haze across the landscape. Well, it's 4th of July. I woke up around 3:30 in the morning and couldn't get back to sleep, so I pulled out my iPhone and started listening to an audiobook that I've been enjoying called Fire Season Field Notes from a Wilderness Lookout by Philip Connors. It's a very romantic, poetic commentary on his experiences of working in a wilderness fire lookout tower in the Gila wilderness of New Mexico. There's the beautiful town of Silverton down there. Look at how gorgeous that is. Got on the road pretty early this morning. We're heading down into Silverton to have a little bit of breakfast. Brian mentioned something about pancakes last night, and it woke me up around 3:30 this morning, hungry. So heading into town. Woke up to about 40 degrees temperature. It was actually pretty warm last night compared to nights previous. Hopefully there'll be some restaurants open. We can get a big old fat stack of pancakes and some bacon and eggs and all sorts of goodies. Alright, so here we are in Silverton, Colorado, pretty much my favorite town in all of the United States. A lot of people like Telluride and Durango, but my favorite's Silverton. It's got a little bit more rough and tumble, sort of Yukon territory style about it. So this morning we're heading up Highway 2 out of Silverton to Animas Forks, which is a ghost town I've been to before. I came through here back in 2012 with one of my Rubicons with my son on my Overland trip across the country. But Highway 2 is a really great dirt stretch of road. It goes along the Animas River, and from Animas Forks we'll probably either pick up California Gulch, or we will weave our way up to an intersection with Engineers Pass. Right here we are up at Animas Forks, old ghost town. This is the Gustafson house. I'm good. Still on Highway 2, we just left Animas Forks, ghost town, and heading toward a junction with Engineers Pass. Definitely a drop-off that you don't want to be holding on to a smartphone with one hand and driving with the other, because shit, you roll down there, it's the end of your Subaru Outback, that's for sure. Well, we're just about to the top of Engineers Pass. I just want to say, eat that, soccer moms. This Outback's definitely legit. Wham, bam. Alright, there you have it. 4Expedition Subaru Outback takes on Engineers Pass. That ain't no soccer mom's car. There's my buddy Brian holding on to his dog Noodles while he's in 4 low. Well, we finally reached the threshold of what the Subaru is able to do. We're up here at Mineral Creek Mine and decided to take the Xterra up because it's a pretty gnarly road. But that's all right, you know. The Subaru performed pretty well already today, and it's not, you know, not all that necessary to be able to get up to places like this. You can always hike up. All right, so we just got off of Route 18, coming down off of Engineers Pass. We're at Highway 550 just above Ouray. And as far as damage goes, the only thing that happened to my Subaru was the front LP Aventura skid plate that's usually attached to my bull bar right here got torn right off, the rivets. And the rivets are still stuck inside the bar, so I'm going to have to contact my boys over there and see what they can do to help me out. But all in all, the Subaru did a fantastic job. We did have to do a little bit of line negotiating coming down. I do have a decent clearance, but in some spots, I would say a Jeep was probably a little more necessary, something with higher clearance. Drop down into Ouray for some burgers and beer. Now we're headed out to Ridgeway and then back to Telluride, do some camping down there. If you've never been to Ouray before, it's a good place to check out. It's basically the Switzerland of America. So last night we decided to come back down south of Telluride and camp at a trailhead just above the campground that we camped at the first night we were up here. Woke up this morning and Brian's already headed off to Phoenix. So I'm going to be here probably until tomorrow afternoon. And I think what I'll do today is either drive up to Alta Lakes and do a little paddling, or there's another lake right down here, about a mile. I might do a little paddling there. Might go into Telluride for a little while. I haven't been to Telluride since I got here, so. All right, so here we are at Alta Lakes. I decided to come up here. It's about 11 to 12,000 feet in elevation. And good news is that it's raining really hard up here. What I'm hoping is that some of that rain is making its way over to Durango Mountain Purgatory area where they're having the big forest fire. But it's a very beautiful place up here, and if you get the opportunity, definitely come up here. Tell you one of the things about high elevation alpine lakes, especially ones that are still within the tree line. I tell you, it just smells so fantastic up here. I'm a little bit out of breath. Wow, the smell of the pine, the mosses on the ground, and the decomposing material, and a slight rain just makes the smell around here just absolutely amazing, aromatic. I'm hoping to do a little paddleboarding up here. This isn't that big of a lake, but I think it would still be fun to inflate the paddleboard and take a little paddle. And if it clears up yet today, I'll do that. Otherwise, I'll wake up first thing tomorrow morning and do a little paddle on the water. There were people out there, but when the rain started coming down, everybody started to paddle to shore. There's a little lightning, a little bit of thunder. Looks like the rains have stopped. I'm kind of back on a little hiking trail around the side of one of the lakes. It's probably a little more populated up here than I had hoped. Kind of thought maybe if I were able to come up here and have a little solitude, that would be really great, but that doesn't seem like it's going to be the case, so I'll have to just make do. Well, if it isn't a rainy day up at Alta Lakes, Thank God it's raining, give some much needed moisture to these trees. But I did get out on the paddle board for a little while before it started pouring, and then it started hailing, and now it's really coming down. And I thought to myself, well, probably no need to stay at 11,500 feet or whatever the elevation is here and have it be raining this much, maybe drop below freezing tonight, and who knows, maybe I have to deal with some snow. Anyway, I think I can drop down below the cloud level and get out of this rain, so I'm gonna go do that. So one of the most essential things about overlanding is the quick setup and takedown. I see a lot of people outside in tents, and when it started pouring rain above 11,000 feet, and only 4 days ago I left my Nalgene bottle outside and it froze at about the same elevation, I thought to myself, well, you know, I mean, there could be some freezing rain if it rains through the night, or even snow for that matter. So because I was sleeping in the back of my vehicle, all I had to do is take down my table, put my cooler away, and head out. And if I had my Rubicon and adventure trailer, it really wouldn't have been that much work either. So people that have tents that are on the ground generally are going to attempt to stay through the rainstorm and see if it clears up. And that's great, but if it doesn't, then they got to take all that down in the pouring rain tomorrow, or the next day, or whenever they decide to go home. And in the meantime, they'll just be spending all their time in the tent. So if you can come up with a system that allows you to take down everything within a few minutes and set everything up within a few minutes, that's really ideal. And even rooftop tents that are soft-sided rather than a hard shell take quite a bit of time to take down and set back up. And generally they're pretty wet in the rain, and that canvas has to be aired out once you get home. And that's the same with a hard shell tent, but I can take down my hard shell rooftop iCamper tent in a matter of about 5 minutes. So I can be on the road in about 10 to 15 minutes if I decide I don't want to stay somewhere. So here I go. I'm down another maybe 1,500 feet. I'm going to drop below the cloud level, and hopefully it won't be raining down there. And in fact, when I look down the valley over here, I see sunshine. So thought I'd share this little special tidbit right here. Look at that. Double rainbow. I'm going to drive right through it. Look at that. Freaking rainbow goes right down to the highway. Look at that. And sure enough, I got down to Trout Lake, which by the way is an absolutely gorgeous lake. And it did rain here, but the sun's out and there's no rain coming down now. So I think I made the right decision. I'm down at Trout Lake right now. And Trout Lake is several thousand feet in elevation below Alta lakes. And it did rain here, and apparently there has been some hail here as well. But the rain subsided, the sun's out down here, and I'm assuming that Alta Lakes is probably still under cloud cover and high winds and a good downpour. So I think I made the right decision. Come down here, spend the evening without rain, hopefully, and then pack up and head back to Phoenix tomorrow. I just got word that the temperatures in Phoenix are 111 degrees, and I just came out of Alta Lakes and the temps up there are about 40. And I wouldn't doubt that sometime in the middle of the night tonight it might drop below freezing up there. So quite the contrast, only one state away. But I'm glad to be here and probably not looking all that forward to going home. Little ferret. The birds are pretty upset about this little ferret running through the tall grass. Are definitely alive this morning. What a great rain last night. All right, I think that's a wrap. We've had a great time up here in Colorado for the last week. Hope you enjoy what we put together. Time to head back to hot temperatures in Arizona, but we'll be out on another adventure here in the next couple weeks up at the Boundary Waters. Take care.